Hi, would you believe this is video number 6 and I'm still going? And we're going to start with the tornado. It seems that a man asked his friend, "Oh my goodness, the tornado went through here so fast. Did it cause trouble at your farm?" And the other man said, "Oh no, it was a blessing." And the first man said, "Since when is a tornado a blessing?" And he said, "Well, now I have a shed and 6 hogs that I didn't have before." One time when Mary was little, Paul raised his voice when he talked to her, and she quietly looked at him and said, "Dad, a soft answer turneth away wrath." And I mean, that got to him so fast. When my dad was visiting in Austin, before I had Michael, my first child, I stood up and turned around and said, "Dad, I don't look very big at all considering how close I am to the end of this pregnancy." And he said, "I don't know, honey. Looks to me like you're going to have a litter." Litter. Oh boy. One day when Paul was ministering at the nursing home, he went by a lady named Erica, kind of a rough, tough lady. And he said, "Erica, I love you. Do you know that?" And she said, "Oh yes, I do. You keep telling us that." And he said, "But now the question is, do you love me?" And Erica looked at him and said, "Yes, but not today." One time when we went camping, Mike and Laurel and Mary and me, we drove into a campground, and a little while later, a fellow camper, another lady, came up and said, "I want to meet you." And I said, "Really?" She said, "Yes. Your son drove the car into the campsite. Then when everybody got out, he unloaded everything that was packed in the car. Then he proceeded to help get the tent set up. Now he's starting to cook dinner. I want to find out where you learned to train up a son like that." Ho, ho, ho. One time, Michael and Laura came running into the house at grandmother and granddaddy's, and they ran up to me and said, "Mama, you don't have to have this new baby after all, because granddaddy just found us a bunny rabbit." One time the principal came up to me at school and said, "You talk about God too much in your classroom." And I said, "Actually, I don't, but I wish I did." There was a sales girl arranging things at the store when Laurel and I were shopping. And Laurel and I were having such a good time as we looked for what we needed. And finally the girl came up and said, "I'm finding jobs to do so that I can stay close to you two, because you are having so much fun together." Jim Wobble is so cute. He'd go around saying to people, "I want you to meet this man. His name is Paul Wobble. He's my father-in-law. He's my uncle. And would you believe he's also my pastor?" Oh, we did laugh at Jim. The telephone repairman was working in our living room, and he said, "I don't believe your family." He said, "A few months ago I came out here because your black and white rabbit had chewed right through the telephone wires. Now I'm back. You call me back because your black and white cat has chewed right through the telephone wires. I was giving a devotion one night at a Christian camp, and it was my turn, and there were no electric lights. There were only candles on the table where the person stood who was giving the devotional. I went up and began to start with the thoughts I had gathered, and suddenly found out that the bugs were heading to the candles because there were no lights around. And after they zoomed around the candles, they landed on me. I had kind of a low-cut blouse on, and they landed on my chest and began to walk around. Some of them actually walked down under the blouse and then reappeared later. I'm sure the kids didn't hear any of the points that I was trying to bring across at that time. There is a thought here. Don't criticize, honey. You ain't dead yet. Thank you. Good to talk to you again.